Out now. What's going on, everybody? Today, I have a special guest, Brian. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Abrahamson.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so I have Brian Abrahamson here to essentially talk about his run for the Minnesota House of Representatives. Right, State House,
Yeah, State House, District 22A.
District 22A.
Yeah,
Do you have a District 22B?
there is, yes.
It's really weird. I don't know why they don't just call it two different numbers.
I don't know.
But how you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good, doing good.
I'm glad to hear it. So I guess the obvious question would be, well, two obvious questions. When did you start running? And then what made you decide to run?
Well, I started running probably about a year ago. I decided to run because I couldn't sit back any further and have our Minnesota Republicans uh, attack our unions, our nurses, our teachers. I mean, all the way down the line. I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand for that any longer.
See, I was under the impression, I'm sure a lot of other people were also, Minnesota oftentimes gets painted as a very blue state. Are you saying like that may not be the case as much as people think?
Uh, Basically, there's a lot of areas that are really red, and then there's a lot of areas that are further north that are blue. There's
Got you.
Yeah, I'm more in the red area, unfortunately.
So it's very similar to New York. New York is always going to vote blue because the most densely populated areas are also blue. But like when it comes to the state politics and the state legislature, a lot of seats get filled with Republicans, essentially.
Essentially, yeah, that's basically how it is here too. Yeah.
Got you, got you. So are you running against a Democrat and a Republican? Or I know your primaries you said are coming up. Are you running as in an independent primary or Democratic?
I'll be Yeah. I filed as a Democrat because they make it so hard for independents or any other third party to run. So I'll be in the Democratic primary.
Okay.
But I consider myself independent right now. I was actually endorsed by the Independence Party of Minnesota.
Really? That's impressive. So even though you are running as a Democrat, the Independent Party of Minnesota went out of its way to endorse you, essentially giving you the nod, saying, "Hey, he's running as a Dem, but his policies are a-okay with us."
Yeah, that's pretty much right. The Democratic Party kind of told me to sit down and shut up, and
That's a good thing. That means you're doing something right. That's good.
yeah,
Who's your opponent? Can you tell us a little bit about your opponent?
I really don't know too much about him. His name is Maxwell Kaufman. That's really all I know. He came in a day before the endorsement convention, just kind of out of nowhere.
Somebody ran him against you, essentially.
Yeah, essentially the Minnesota DFL ran them against me. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you are not the only one that has happened to. I've seen that happen in Florida personally. I know it's happened in California. It seems to be happening all over the country.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of Democratic socialists are winning. So I'm hopefully be one of the next ones that win a primary.
So how has your canvassing been going? How have people been generally responding to you when you do go meet them in person and tell them what you stand for? I know you say you live in a dominantly red area, but have you noticed a level of receptiveness to the policies that you're advocating for, even amongst the Republican demographic?
Yeah, basically, I'm running mainly on a single payer platform in this area because people want to change with healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Our Republican representative has been for a couple of years now talking about making healthcare better for Minnesota, and he hasn't even touched it. So, I mean, a lot of people are waiting for that change, and
that's kind of interesting because I know that Obamacare was a little bit better in Minnesota than it was for a lot of other places. And so what I'm hearing from you is that it's still not even adequate enough to meet the most basic needs of most of the constituents.
No, it's expensive. It's not adequate at all. It is better for some people that have like Minnesota Care or something like that along those lines. But I did a quote and it was something like $2,000 a month, and it was
Woo! Ah,
kind of
shit. That would make me run for office too. I would shove my computer right in and like, oh, hell no, I'm running for office. I can't pay this. I need
yeah.
somebody to pay for my health care. I'm either running for office or joining the military.
That's about the time I actually started running, actually.
I don't blame you, man. So how is your fundraising been? Like, have you been able to get a lot of support in Minnesota, and have you been able to get any support outside of Minnesota?
I've been getting a lot of support more out of Minnesota, actually. But I do have a lot of in Minnesota donations. Can still accept more. But yeah, fundraising has been kind of slow, unfortunately. But
Midterms, man.
yeah.
Midterms. Well, hopefully this can help you out. Just in case you all have not looked at Brian's website yet, which I strongly urge you all to do so. Brian's website, on the very front of it, says, why he's running, which I think almost every and anybody wants to know whenever you're going to look up a candidate. And it says right there in the front, being a direct support professional for adults with disabilities. I know how important a livable wage, health care as a right, and tuition-free college and replacement of water and transportation infrastructure would be for our hardworking Minnesotans. I will stand up to the Minnesota Republican politicians and fight for the people over the wealthy few. I will stand for the environment, which I know is a big deal up there right now, social and economic justice. So that gives me, and I'm sure anybody else, a pretty good indication of what you plan on doing when you get to office. What has been your biggest obstacle with this race thus far, other than clearly the Democratic Party trying to put their thumbs on the scale?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is I started, like I said, as a Democrat, and it's a very red area. Sometimes I can't even get a conversation going, but because they call me like a baby killer or whatever like that.
That's so funny. I had that same thing happening in Long Island when I was. They were like, "All I care about is abortion." I'm like, "Whoa, cool breeze. Hold on, hold on. We're not even talking about that. This dude doesn't even have control over that. Like, that has nothing to do with me, homie. Sorry." But yeah, I can imagine that could be pretty difficult. Do you feel is it a winnable district for a progressive, do you think?
I believe so. I like I said, our district is looking for change. That has not come. That's been promised for the last 2 to 4 years now. So basically, we want change and we haven't gotten it. We basically need to stand up and say yes, we do want single payer. Yes, we do. We do want a livable wage, and we do want our infrastructure fixed because we have the worst infrastructure in the state basically right now. And
Even oh, you mean your district does?
yeah, we do. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like in the country. I was like, oh wow, I like Michigan might beg to differ on that one, but
Well, our district in our state, basically.
got you.
Yeah.
So, what do you think what tactics, I believe, is probably where I'm looking for. What tactics do you believe you could implement when you do win to essentially start making some of those big changes that you're advocating for?
Actually, just be bold, stand up, and for what you believe in. That's basically what we have to do.
As what?
As progressives.
Yeah. I have another colleague. She's running in Michigan. Her name is Shauna McNally. One of the things that she's doing, which I found incredibly interesting, and I've always said I would assume that would be the norm, but it unfortunately is not. But one of the things that she's doing is actually going into each individual congressional district, just what she wants to do, and like figure out how their congressperson or their senator is not taking care of them, and then holding that particular congressperson or senator, holding their feet to the fire, to let them know, like, look, if you don't take care of your district, I'm going to figure out what they need. I'm going to push it for them. And then whatever candidate comes out of the district next who will make sure that those needs continue to be met, I will endorse them above you. So I think that that's a very useful tactic, and I think it should be practiced more often. But what do you think about that? Do you feel like it's something that you'd be able to do in Minnesota?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to see what's working and see what's not, and just get stuff done.
Yeah, definitely. So what were you doing before you became a candidate?
Well, like I said, I've been a direct support professional for about 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, take care of people that are elderly and that need a little bit extra care and stuff like that, with developmental disabilities and stuff like that.
So pretty much your life is dedicated to service to those who can't take care of themselves, what you're telling me.
Absolutely.
Seems like you're a perfect fit for the job.
That's what. Absolutely, yeah.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Well, where can people donate to you?
If you go to the website, BrianAbrahamsonForHouse.com, there's a donate button on the top left-hand side. Just click on that. It goes to a crowd pack site, and just kind of go from there.
So Yogi Fish with the super chat just said your quote: "Stand up for the change, for what you believe in, and that's how things change." Essentially agreeing with you about what you said about being bold earlier. So appreciate that super chat, Yogi Fish. Does anybody have any questions for Brian, by the way? Just, while you can go ahead and list them below if you do have any direct questions. I have a lot of people that watch from Minnesota and Michigan area and Ohio too. Really weird, but question for you, man. So I know there's a lot of things that happen in Michigan. I feel like a lot of people aren't really familiar with, because Michigan's kind of in its own world at times. Sometimes people think that y'all are part of Canada, but so I know that there's a huge refugee thing going on in Michigan right now, right?
In Minnesota?
In Minnesota, excuse me, not Michigan. Michigan too, but more so Minnesota. My bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. They have a big Somali basically intake, and I support them. I welcome here. We have a
lot of people think that that's not a thing. You know that. A lot of people believe, because that there's this like big fear-mongering tactic going on, mostly on the like super far right, that the world, specifically the United States, is going to get overrun by these refugees if we were to let them in. But a lot of people don't seem to understand or believe that there are a lot of refugees already here. Right? Do y'all have any massive troubles because of these refugees?
I don't. I have no problems at all.
Like, are they all over their news? Like, are they causing issues? Because I'm just curious, because that's, you're in Minnesota, so you would know.
I think we've had like one. So somebody ran through a mall with a knife or something like that.
It's a very specific thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't get it personally.
So even in your district, you don't hear any issues with this, because I know you said it's a dominantly right-wing district.
Right, but it's mostly the Somalis go up further north, like in the cities. So we don't get really that much here.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're kind of afraid to come down to this area.
Can't blame them. Can't blame them much. But I just always found that interesting, because I know that's going to be something that you're going to have to probably address at some point in the legislature while you're a state representative. And I just find it interesting that people think that there's this huge like refugee upsurge that's going to just decimate the country. And from everything that I've seen, that's totally not the case. They think that the refugees are coming over are grown men, who, like, all of them are grown men. That's what's being propagated. But it seems to me that I've seen a lot of women and children, mostly actually women and children. When I was in Minnesota, that's what I saw. I don't know if it's any different, like, from your perspective.
No, basically, there's a lot of Somalis actually running for office So I mean,
that's good.
And they're winning. They're
What?
So yeah, and I mean
That's impressive, actually.
They're doing very good things for Minnesota. I just, like I said, I don't get where all this bad information is coming from. They're great for our community. So
I heard they've opened up a lot of businesses. I've heard there's been an uptick in some areas economically since they've moved in. They've integrated pretty well. I know that like Minneapolis Airport they work like they are like half the airport when I went there. So that's good. That I'm glad that you can help us debunk the conspiracy theory that refugees aren't already here. Because I'm sure you've heard some of the stuff that don't move to France or Germany because refugees are just raping and killing everybody. Oh my God, they're trying to Islamify everything, and it seems like things are pretty normal in Minnesota. So I'm glad you debunked that for us.
yeah.
So I guess, do you have any other words for those who are in Minnesota, in your district or even outside, before we go ahead and go? And then once again, if you could drop your people can find you on Twitter, where they can find you on Facebook, and how they can donate to your campaign.
Yeah, basically, like I said, I'm running on a single payer program. I think we really need to revamp our healthcare in Minnesota. Like I said, we do need infrastructure help pretty badly, both transportation and water. And I'm hoping to stand up for the people in this area, because our farmers are literally paying about $30,000 a year just for healthcare, and still not getting the care they need.
Wow.
I care about the farmers. I care about about the people here, and we just need to get them taken care of.
Okay, and really quick, Yogi Fish had a question for you from YouTube. He says, "Are there other people like you in your area running for office?"
Basically, not in my area. I know
in Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota, there's plenty. There's plenty of them. There's people running in Congress and state house and everything.
Any names come to mind that they can go support too?
I think Ian Todd comes up to mind. He's a pretty cool character. Running a grassroots campaign, just like me, and go out and support him. He's pretty easy to find, Ian Todd.
Okay. So Ian Todd. So go find Ian Todd and go support him as well. So real quick before we go, drop your Twitter where they can find you on Facebook, and your campaign site where they can donate to it. One more time.
All right. So I'm on Twitter. It's BA, the number 4, Minnesota. And then on Facebook, I am on Brian Abrahamson for Minnesota. And then, of course, go to brianabrahamsonforhouse.com and click on the donate button, bring you right to the crowd pack.
4 with the number or 4 with spelled out?
Just the number.
Okay.
Yeah, so number 4.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I went ahead and put that in there. I'll also make sure I put that in the description when we get done here. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I definitely want to touch base with you again closer to the primary. Come back and let us know how it went, man, and then we can hopefully get you some attention for your general election also.
All right, that sounds good to me, man.
All right, sounds fantastic, Brian. Thanks for coming on. And for everybody else, remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.